Well, it's not exactly Saturday afternoon, it's nearly Saturday night because the internet here is so slow. We had a hiccup and now we're leaving a bit later to see if we can get a better speed on the internet. So everyone's gone out to the movies or watching TV instead of playing on their computers. So hopefully this goes through. A few interesting things happening. We're obviously looking at Tapio. If you saw the live tracker this morning, you'll see he was going the wrong way. We just got a message from him. He's going the right way now. So he was having a little bit of a snooze in drifting conditions and nothing happening. So, but now he says it's great sailing. He's got a nice beam wind and he's heading the right way, and all things are good on board. So back on track. But as you saw, he's not going to go fast for long because he's got days and days of very frustrating stuff. Istvan had a bit of fun. We're not sure the whole story, but apparently the wind pilot completely broke. Something broke with it, we're not sure what. And so he had to hand steer for 24 hours until he could get to the point where he had a complete spare unit on board that the manufacturer put on board in case there was a problem. And he was able to get the new unit out and bolt it on the back, and he's now back on track again. So that's good. And now the big issue is, when is he going to arrive here? And it's particularly hard to judge because I've just pulled his ETA forward another 24 hours, thinking he might get here on the 20th or something, because he's got some heavy weather right now, all pushing him in. He's going up a bit north, but that's fine because this southwesterly wind, sometime in the next 8 hours or so, is going to swing very quickly to the northwest and start pushing him down a bit, and then it'll slowly start backing off. And then the winds will go light. So starting late tomorrow, the winds are going light, and he's got a couple of pleasant days sailing, but then just as he's getting towards the coast, he's going to get some light headwinds, and depending on if he can keep up with that and tack to windward, then he might get through the system okay, but if he's not quick enough, then there'll be no wind, so he could be stuck out there just sitting 30-40 miles offshore going nowhere. And I know with forecasting, I'm not an expert, but when you're looking at this, when you've got models that show very light winds or no wind at all, it's very hard for the forecasters and the computer modeling to predict exactly where the wind's going to go. And it's a fine line between no wind and 5 knots of wind. So it makes it really difficult to pick an ETA. So we're saying, in fact, we'll have to have a look. But anyway, check it out. I've got the ETA. There'll be another one tomorrow morning. We're saying, I think, the 20th, maybe even, I don't even want to think about the 19th. So probably Wednesday, possibly if he's late and misses that, could be Thursday. But you really need to follow the updates every day. There'll be another one tomorrow morning, and we'll let you know what's going on. Of course, Uku got home. That was a bit of fun for him. There was a lot of people there at the airport, and I don't know whether you saw the pictures. He's lost a bit of weight, which we all knew. And what else is happening? Jean-Luc's incredibly busy all over the place, doing speaking engagements, trying to write his book. There's a bit of pressure on at the moment because we don't know exactly which day that Istvan's going to arrive, so we're not sure who's going to be here. Uku can't come back, and Mark is really busy as well, so we'll see. But there'll be plenty of people here for when he arrives. And we're still waiting for the final announcement on the prize giving, but as I said, if you're thinking of coming, it's a public presentation, so it'll be on the Monday, probably the Monday afternoon, so you'll be able to be involved with that. And there's some interesting answers to some questions towards the end of this, which will reveal a few interesting points about 22. As much as the GGR edition now is slowing right down, it's starting to ramp up with 22. There's a huge amount of interest and a lot of entries coming in, boats being sold, moving around, other people looking for boats. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background, but we'll start focusing on that when the prize giving's finished and it's all done. But we will announce on April the 22nd the actual list. It'll be up on the website then and all that sort of stuff. So it'll be closing down the 18 edition and ramping up the 2022 edition, which I'll be managing. How exciting is that? Whoop, whoop. I think that's the main things to get to. Anyway, other bits will come up on this. Particularly about Gregor's recovery. In fact, there's a question here from Tom Congman, and a few people have been asking, what's the latest on the Gregor's salvage operation on his boat? Well, I had a quick message. I contacted Cody, and he told me what he's up to, because progress has been really slow. Apparently, there's this mysterious philanthropist that's put up a bit of money. He's put up 25,000 US or something. And I'm not sure what the deal is when Cody gets that, But Cody's getting a bit tight, so he's taken a job. He's doing some concreting in Perth now to keep paying the bills. He's got to go up to Bali for a visa run. He'll be going up to Bali for the weekend and stuff, and it looks like there's not a lot happening. So in Cody's own words, he hopes the boat's still afloat, and knowing that area and what's going on, they're missing out on a big weather window. So it'll be a case of watch this space. Maybe it's going to happen, maybe it's not going to happen, I don't know. Certainly we thought it was a little bit different operation. We're not involved, but things are quite slow right now on that one. So, and we don't know where the boat is because Gregor's taking control of the tracker. So, but there were a few people looking to go out previously. Whether some of that, I'm not sure what happens. But yeah, the slow progress. So if I had to answer that simply, nothing's happening at the moment. There you go. Okay, Leon Fox wanted to know for the non-sailors in the world, he's from America apparently, or no, for non-sailors rather, how does a sextant actually help you find your position? And fortunately, Graham Cox, a guy I know in Australia, put a big lengthy answer for him, because I can't tell you in a quick 30-second answer here on what it does. But what I will do is just explain, and in fact Graham's answer was great. Two things. First of all, if you ever want to know about a sextant and how it works, just Google it. There's some fantastic YouTube videos about how sextant work, what it does, and some great diagrammatic explanations. Even if you go Google Images, you'll see some great things come up about a sextant, about what the principles of celestial navigation is. A sextant is just a measuring tool. It measures the angle from the sun to your eye and to the horizon. Okay, that's that's basically all it does. And another little thing that some people don't realise, but obviously you probably know that at noon the sun is as high as it's ever going to get, so it rises in the morning, and then directly at noon, wherever you are, it's at its highest point, and then it drops down the other side and sets. Now, time isn't defined by your clock, it's defined where you are on the surface of the Earth in longitude when you go round the globe. So you might say the clock is 12 o'clock noon, but you might not be, that might not be the highest spot for the sun where you are. You could be a bit further to the west or the east. But anyway, by doing that, when you do that, if you wait until exactly on noon and you know the time of Greenwich Mean Time, you can say, you can measure the sun going up and up and up at the top, and then it goes down, down. The moment it was at the top, you know it's the highest, and so that's your noon time. And if you compare that to GMT, which is Greenwich Meridian Time, and calculate it back for every 15 degrees is an hour of longitude, you can work out where you sort of are. That's the one little thing. And then the other one is, because you've got this angle that goes from the sun to your eye to the horizon, I've probably lost a lot of people now already, and you measure that declination. If you've got a globe here, and you basically, it's going to get too hard to try and explain this. You basically get a position line, because there's only one position that angle will fit on the surface of the Earth. If you draw an angle from the sun to the globe and then to the horizon, it makes a circle around the world, and you can tabulate that, and you can work out your latitude. Very easy. But anyway, it's too hard to do here. You need to go to Google for that one. Leon also asked about a Susi interview. When's that going to happen? And she was here. It was fantastic to see her. We had a hell of a lot of fun. We spoke about a lot of different things. And Susi's coming back slowly but surely, and she's been busy doing things. And I'm sure it won't be long, and she'll start talking about all the things that have happened and all the things that she's been going through. So, but we didn't even ask Susi for an interview, because it's all private for her, and but it will happen eventually. I'm quite certain of that. So watch this space, and I'm sure that you'll find she'll be saying something in the near future. Tim Miller noticed that Uku's spinnaker pole was stored on the mast, and he thought that's a bit dumb, because if he gets rolled over and dismasted, he's going to lose his spinnaker pole. In reality, that's happened to a couple of engines already. So in 22, we're saying you've got to have a position on deck to store your poles securely on deck, but then it's up to them what they want to do. Now, when you're sailing, it's quite a good idea to have your pole on the mast. It really works. It's an efficient system, and I would do that. I've done that on my previous boats as well sometimes, not on my big boats, but on my medium boats, and on my motor sailor. But in a storm, obviously you'd take it down and strap it on deck. So that's that one, because he was asking my opinion on how it happens. And also he's saying that Uku had a deck step mast, whereas Mark and Jean-Luc had a keel step mast, and suggested, was it luck that he kept his mast up, because keel step's got to be stronger? Well, you're right, a keel step mast is stronger, but that just means you can afford to have a smaller section, which is supported better. So if you're deck stepped, you probably have a bigger section. So you've got all these give and take on everything. It's the same. It's the name of a game with any boat. Everything's, you know, sort of a compromise to a degree. Certainly, I wouldn't say luck of the draw, but Uku sailed very conservatively. He did pretty well with the weather. He didn't get it hooked up in any of the really what I'd call super extreme storms. He had some good storms, but he handled them well, and you know, came out the other side, finished the race. The boat's ready to go again, and you know, he's pretty happy about that. So all is good. Tommy Jokinen was asking about Tapio. He's taking forever. What's his food supply like? Well, every time I've asked Tapio, he says he's got plenty, and I believe him. He's not a big guy like Mark Slats, but I believe he's got a fair bit of food on board. He's the quintessential seaman, and he would have catered for all contingencies. He knew whatever happened, he'd have to finish, and I would have thought that not, you know, even expecting his boat to be fast, he would have probably been thinking that, okay, maybe I can do it in 220 days, because we're all surprised how quick everyone went. Do it in 220 days. So he would allow a contingency of at least another month or so, couple of months. So there's 260, 70, 80 days or something. And as he's getting longer, he'll start rationing a bit if it's a problem. But I really believe he's doing all right for food. So he certainly says he is. Tom Cogman wanted to know, he was asking about Gregor's recovery, which I've already answered that one. Now, Carol Greenhouse has asked me some classic questions, and I thought I wish I didn't print it out because I'm at home at the moment. Excuse me. So I thought the best thing to do was to actually read her questions. She's got a few, and they are actually quite cool questions. So I've got to just find it here on my computer. Okay, the first one is, I'll just read it. What has changed for those excuse me, those who sailed for months in the GGR, whether or not they finished? Is there increased opportunity for them? Are they under media scrutiny? Is it hard to reintegrate into their families? Do their old daily lives make more or less sense when they have left? Does it feel anticlimactic? Are they happy? Just trying to give some questions that are a bit different. Now, there's a lot of questions there, right? Secondly, I don't know what each individual entrant has done. You need to follow each individual entrant. Some are writing books, some are writing stories, some will produce little video clips, and a lot of them are going to be available at different places in the years ahead, so you can get and ask them personally. I'll give you my take on some of these questions individually because it is quite interesting. Is there increased opportunity for them? I'd say in most cases, in fact, if not all cases, yes, if the entrant decides they want to make the most of it and grab that extra opportunity. Because you notoriety does take up, people want to talk to you, people admire you or respect you a little bit more for what you've done, which is fair enough. So little opportunities pop up, but in life it's always a case of an individual seeing the opportunity and deciding to go for it, you know. And through all of the entrants, they're all at different levels and they're all doing different things with that opportunity. But the reality is normally yes, there is better opportunity than when they left. Are they under media scrutiny? I'd say no. I mean, if you took Susi, for instance, she went through something pretty amazing, and I think generally the media have been really well behaved. They haven't been giving her a hard time. Some of the media saw her here when she was here. They didn't give her a hard time. So I wouldn't call it media scrutiny. They're not that famous, you know, so that's okay. Is it hard to reintegrate into their families? I wouldn't say so. I've been through a bit of that myself on some expeditions, and you come back and you integrate real well. You have a whole newfound respect for them. And Uku explained it well. You know, he's gonna just so enjoy being back with his family, he and his wife and the kids. And he made it very clear that he has a lot more respect for the family and a lot closer feeling now because he had time to think and contemplate what's important in life. And I remember when they did the BOC, I had a similar sort of feeling about some things that happened during the way around. You know, people are everything. That's the bottom line. So you know, yeah, I think they get back into their families pretty easily, and they have a new respect. Do their old lives make more or less sense than when they left? It depends at what level in life they already were. If they're young and it's all new, maybe yes, maybe no. If they're older, maybe they've already found their place in life. So I think that varies depending on the entrant. It'd be impossible to say, but it does. You do get plenty of time when you're out there to think about many things, totally, and also understand a bit more about yourself. And I'm seeing that with a couple of the entrants now that retired early. They're really, they're challenged about the reasons that they retired early, and they're dealing with it and they're coping with it. And it's a I won't call it an issue, but it's a subject for them. And I'm seeing some pretty incredible things, some pretty good things, So the GGR is all about pushing yourself to the limit, and not everything works out the way you wanted it to or expected. But nonetheless, that's you, that's who you are, and you did what you did. And it's a development process, that's the colour of the GGR. It's really all about the person. So that's cool. Does it feel anticlimactic? No, well, I don't know what the others are thinking, and I've got to deal with my own experience in this. I wouldn't think so, no matter what happens. I mean, if you can do it and finish, obviously you're a winner. So that feels fantastic. And the issue of retiring for whatever reason, that's something which the individual would have to cope with. It's up to them. But I wouldn't call it anticlimactic. Certainly different than what you'd expected. So are they happy? I would say pretty much. Well, what's happy? I mean, there's a different definition of happy. So I'd have to say I can't answer that. I think everyone have their own thing. Okay, now I'll go straight to our next round of questions. There's a couple other people come in. She's got some great ones, Carol. Very good job. Okay, it's got here, is there a possibility of including a youth component in 2022? I know you said that was something you wish you could have had in this race. Well, a youth component is an entrant, and I would love to see some young people in the race. In fact, an interesting thing happened, talking to a potential sponsor who potentially might have been interested in supporting a young person into the race. It's not easy. I think I've already mentioned I offered, when I wasn't going in the 18 race, I offered to sponsor a young woman into the GGR and do a lot of things using my boat before I sold it. And it's a hard thing to suggest to someone they should or could, do you want to do this race? It doesn't work like that. It's got to start the other way. You've got to have a person that's already made the decision to do the race, and then you could sponsor them. Because if you try and support that, you try and say, hey, come with me, I've got a great project for you, I'd love you to do this, and they think, oh yeah, I'll take that because it's free ride money, they get the boat, that's fantastic, it's everything, but they might not have the right headspace, so it's not going to work. They're going to bail out. And I spoke to a few people about this, and Jean-Luc and Lionel Regnier, the préparateur, and a few others, we all agree, you can't just grab someone and sponsor them. You got to find someone that wants to go and then support them. So I hope some young people come in, but who knows, maybe the iPods and iPhones and everything are overriding that. So that was another one of her questions. The next one that she's got here. Okay, months ago, you gave an insightful assessment of why VDH was in the lead by a wide margin. That was when I gave a review of Jean-Luc. You said that because of his experience, he knew enough to be on every minute, adjusting his sails at 3 a.m, etc. You said it in a better way than this, but it's having re-watched the pre-race videos, experienced the race's challenges and triumphs alongside them, and observed the outcomes to date, what commonalities besides luck do you see among the sailors who remained in the race, the ones that are still going? And what does it take, in other words, to be successful in this particular race? Well, when I explained about Jean-Luc, the key that she's referring to is that Jean-Luc had done a heap of time at sea, like just gone round and round and round, different boats, different challenges, all that sort of stuff. He understands the sea. He's got salt water in his veins. He understands challenge. He understands the priorities of being competitive but also finishing, and he knows what it takes to do the planning and preparation phase really well. So then it's the execution. Now, when everyone's out there, once they've all left, it's the execution phase. And the lead-in is different for every entrant. But when Jean-Luc's out there, he knows the ocean. It's his backyard. He is relaxed. He doesn't have to deal with that whole new world of being out there in a little boat. He knows it. So he can concentrate now on driving the boat, sailing the boat, and making the most of his planning and preparation. Whereas a lot of the others, and I'd have to say probably the majority, because you look at a guy like Philippe Péchet, who has got 300,000 miles, all that stuff, it's all different type of sailing, whereas, you know, it's with crew and super fast boats and all that stuff. So even Philippe was probably in a slightly new environment. Same with all the others. Mark Slats was a different type of boat, but he was a bit settled. So what's the commonality? The ones that left. Okay, we've got 5 people left. Jean-Luc is Jean-Luc. He starts from the top. It doesn't come any better than that in terms of his planning, preparation, execution. Mark Slats, again, same deal. He went round solo, non-stop, in his steel boat with a dog, with virtually no sails, old timber mast, just new rigging, because he just wanted to do it. Okay, now that says a lot about who he is. And so this was another deal, but this time he had a slightly better prepared boat, maybe different style of boat. He had a little bit of challenges, but he really was focused. He's a big guy. He's a smart guy because he keeps playing with ideas. You know, he doesn't just go by the book, because there's no such book. Some people think there's a set way you got to do things. Mark's not like that. He understands. Probably because he's dyslexic. We discussed it in his thing. So Mark is a real thinker. Uku is a funny one. He's a bit deceptive, because you ask him something, he says, "Oh, it's okay. You know, everything's cool bananas, baby. You know, it'll happen. She's right." So you think he's just lucky, but he's not. He's also a very good seaman. He's done a solo trip around the world. He knows how to back off. He knows how to look after his boat. He knows his boat, whilst it wasn't super special, red hot, but down to the nth degree, it was an honest, wholesome Rustler 36, prepared well by Lionel Regnier, and he figured if he sails this conservatively and just gets on with the job and be very careful, he'll probably finish, and he did. So that's pretty clever. Then you come to Istvan. Istvan's a classic. I mean, everything's a nightmare. Everything's a problem. Don't mention the wind pilot, you know, all that sort of stuff. But he's a real finisher, and he's smart. He's a bit uptight, you know, that's just his nature. Everyone's a different character, but he'll fix things. He'll keep going. He doesn't want to give up. And I've got to say, he's tough. He's tough as old nails. He's tough. He's a banana. You know, tough as anything. You know, he just got to get to the finish, and he will. Touch wood. So that's a bit similar. Same as Mark. Same as Jean-Luc. In some ways, it's easy for me to say this because it's obvious they're this far. And Tapio's just in love with the ocean. You know, like he had a plan for his boat. He pulled off the priorities about being strong, so it's going to finish, but he just lost it on a few other things. He was stressed for time, this, that, and the other. But again, quintessential sailor, this, that, and the other. So I think that's, I don't know whether I've picked any common themes there, but he's there to the finish, and that, again, it's obvious because they're the last one standing. So, and he's done it hard before. He's a good sailor. He's a real people person. He's had a good family behind him, all those sorts of things. So he's got as far as he did. So I don't know whether I've answered the question, but and what's different about some of the others? Well, Nabil, I really like Nabil. He's coming from the opposite end of the planet. You know, he was sort of like pretty young sailing experience, but he had a plan. He wanted to go, get it all happening. He just got let down with one bad decision, no wind vane. But he might be coming back, you know, I can see it. He's sailing again, and he hasn't said anything yet, but I just get this hunch he might be there in 22. So he's different. Antoine, completely different, you know, like he was in it for different reasons, didn't quite make it, but it happens, you know. Watch this space, you never know what's going to go on there. And who else we got? Erton's back, you know, he's back. So, you know, he's got unfinished business, and now he's better prepared, better focused, more experienced later on, and so on. So, yeah, they're all different, but the 5 for the sailing, I suppose they are a bit common. Another one, final one from Carol, is what's the lay of the land regarding sponsorship? Do you feel it will be easier now to attract a big sponsor or two? Wouldn't that be nice? I'll be happy with one. Does it still feel like an uphill battle, or is the journey underway? I've got to say the journey's underway. We went into this race really on the back foot, you know, mainly because we didn't arrive in Les Sables d'Olonne until a few months before the start. We had all those complications with the FFV and all their suggestions just as we were starting to talk to sponsors, and that was a financial disaster, and they made some really amazing statements which didn't help us. And we were an inaugural event, even though there was the first edition in 1968. No one really knew the things that we were saying, we used to say, they're not going to sail over the horizon and disappear. You just watch this, this is how it's going to work. And they really, even though we've been at this sort of stuff for a long time, they didn't know who we were. So all those boxes have now been ticked. It was a real adventure. They know who we are. So yes, I'm confident it will be easier. I'm not suggesting for a minute that we're going to get a big sponsor. We don't expect it. We don't think it's our right, but we're going to work hard, and I think we've got a much better chance now of getting some serious partners. Certainly our relationship with Les Sables d'Olonne is strong. We're still talking about 2022 and hope to make an announcement of that if it all works out. I've said it, we both have. We said if we're going to do this, it needs to be announced on April the 22nd, so watch this space. So yeah, it feels good. We're into it, and as I mentioned, while we're slowing down on 2018, we're ramping up on 22. So yeah, a lot going on there. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Okay, that's the end of Carol. Thanks for the questions, Carol. That was a good session. And Steve Cottrell wanted to know, okay, the entrance had roller furling head sails, so does that mean that roller furling or mainsail furling is allowed? Yeah, of course it's allowed, and in actual fact, Suhaili and Robin had a roller reefing boom back in the good old days, the old-fashioned way. Used to see a lot of them when I was a kid, just a boom with a worm drive on the gooseneck. You wind the handle, and this round tube that's the boom just starts rolling up and just roll up the mainsail on the boom. There's modern versions of that, and there's furling systems where they roll up into the mast section itself. Had some friends, Deb and Rolf, on a Joshua replica called Northern Lights, who sailed 2 or 3 times around the world, lived in their boat in Antarctica, all that sort of stuff, with a Selden in-mast furling mainsail, which back in those days was like horrific. You say, well, you're doing what? You're taking that into the Southern Ocean? You got to be kidding me, because everyone said it'll blow up and it'll jam and you get into real trouble and stuff like that. It basically never happened. They did a lot of miles. You got no idea. Used to write for Cruising World magazine, Sailing magazine, all that stuff. They've written some great books, real amazing adventurers, and they never really had a problem. Personally, I'd never do it. I would just stick with slab reefing, because slab reefing is simple, it's easy. Slab reefing with lazy jacks and stuff is very easy. Luff line, leech line, do it from the cockpit, and if nothing goes wrong, you're okay. And it's a lot more reliable. I'd have to say, in that instance, a lot more reliable than in-mast furling. And I had boom furling on my last big motor sailor, and it was okay, but it was still, you always held your breath a bit. So nothing wrong with slab reefing for GGR. Okay, the other one was Carol Greenhouse. Hang on, I've got to find this one. What was the last one? Oh no, the guy was asking about, Habib Koroy was asking, any Pacific Seacraft boats acceptable for the GGR? They're really nice boats. I've always admired their boats, Pacific Seacraft. The Dana, the little 24-footer, was one of my favourites. But if I remember rightly, they haven't got one that's got the full keel in that group, so there's nothing that fits. If there was a design in their range that fitted, it would be fantastic, because they build a great boat. They make really good sea boats, no question about that. Got an interesting one here, and I'll try and answer this the best way I can. Where's my list, Jane, of people in 22? Where did I put it? Quick. Here it is. Okay. Wanted to know whether there is any Brazilian entrant signed on for 2022 GGR. Well, I'll quickly give you a big. This is seeing you've stuck it all the way to the end. There are currently 6 people from England entered in 22. 1 from Italy, 1 from Ireland, 3 from Australia, 1 from India, 1 from Malta, 1 from New Zealand, 2 from France, 1 from America, 1 from Norway, 1 from Canada. That's it. I won't say any more. Anyway, I think that's all. What communications road from computer? I can't work that one out. I think that's about all. Oh, the other one, Margaret Keys, will say, would you recommend staying close to the Brazilian shore when coming north in the Atlantic? Jean-Luc did that and made better time overall, even in headwinds. The only reason a few people have asked, what was he doing on the coast in Brazil? People have come up and seen his historical track. Why did he go into Rio and stuff? That was because the headwinds forced him in there. He would much rather have not gone there. So there's no set plan there. Historically, you usually stay offshore because you remember that the southeast trades, when they're coming over there, the further away from the coast you are, the more easterly there is in it, because when they hit the land, they bend down and become headwinds. So if you can stay away from the coast, you might get a better reach going north. You know, that's usually the plan. And you'll see on Sue Haley's track, this is exactly what Sue Haley's doing, because that's the old clipper ship route. You don't want to get caught inshore there with the headwinds. So so that's that one, and I think that's all there is. So I might have wished then. No, this is what it was. Tim Whitaker, what lessons have been learned from GGR 2018 that will make you change anything for 22? There's actually quite a lot. There's lots of little things, and it's a bit hard for me to pull it up, but we'll be talking about that later on. There's a lot of little things, so it's a bit, it's probably 20 or 30 little things that are going to change, but no majors, nothing major. And what we're trying to do is not put more rules in. We're just not trying to make it more prescriptive, but more recommendations on what may or may not happen. So anyway, that's really about it for now. So thank you very much, and we will keep our fingers crossed for a fun arrival of Istvan sometime very soon. Watch for the daily updates on his ETA. Thanks a lot. See you later.